Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Balaji. How are you?
Hi. Fine, fine.
Good, good. So, all done? Everything is ready?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, great.
Everything is done. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Good.
Should we try this session?
Your voice is not audible.
Let's
Yeah.
try screen sharing.
No, I'll give you a screen share of permission now, because let's say normally people do
Okay.
as per their wish, na? So I have kept it with me, so I'll allow it now.
Okay.
Yeah. Now you can.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Now we can share. Yeah.
Good evening.
Hi. How are you? Yogesh, how are you?
Good evening.
ठीक आहे छान आहे.
Okay.
आज योगेश देशाच्या ऑफिसला आलो.
जाऊन आलास? पुस्तकं घेऊन आलास?
हा त्यांनी काही पुस्तकं दिले, काही पुस्तकं नंतर दिली परीक्षा झाल्यावर.
ओके.
सीट अजून पैकी आहे अजून जॉईंट एंट्रन्स ते.
बरोबर. Who is Manakarna madam?
She is my sister.
Oh, okay, great. Welcome.
Okay.
Yeah, hi. She's joining from Latur?
No, from Hyderabad.
Hyderabad. Oh, okay, great. Good. But then I think Balaji, you are from Latur, right?
Yeah. Yes, that is true.
Okay.
Udgir, Nanded, Latur.
Right.
Yes, but now
it is nearby.
she is settled in Hyderabad.
Okay. No issue. Good. So she wants to monitor your presentation, I think so. Good. So Yogesh, you can give him guidelines so that, let's say, he will be familiar with it, and let's say we can have that process followed up.
Balaji, although I have made see the way is till 5:30 to 32 we'll wait for people to join. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
5:32 we'll have a small one or two liner introduction of yours. Then we'll hand over the session to you. It is expected that you, along with showing the slides, you will have a talk around 20 to 25 minutes.
All right.
So it goes up with that to 25 minutes or so plus.
Okay.
And then it will be followed by 10 to 15 minutes of question answers. It may so happen, because of the facility of this Zoom has a facility of only 40 minutes of continuous session. So we may have to rejoin. So it's advisable that you finish up your presentation by the first break, and maybe attract one or two questions in that frame. And the second frame would have other question answers, and maybe some people who would like to share their views as well. It's up to you to,
दोन्ही लावले तर बाकी दार बंद केली.
Okay, so is that understood, or you need to have some more information?
No. I have attended couple of sessions, and so this is good enough. I'm comfortable. Don't worry.
Yeah. Whoever from your batch are joining, any idea?
I have informed quite many relatives. I don't know how many of them will join. So from my batch, Deepa is joining, Shiv joining. Others I don't know. Let's see.
Okay, good.
Bansha might also join.
No, Colonel Shashi has joined.
Shashi will join.
Yes, already joined.
So,
he's already joined.
So would Shashi mind introducing him, or you want me to introduce?
You can introduce him, because let's say you are interacting with Balaji for so many days, and let's say I don't know his exact profile. I have seen his like say signature in his mail. Okay, I do like say understand what his profession is, like what his qualification. But then you are interacting with him, so like you will be in a better position to like say introduce him.
I'll do in a minute or so. Not a problem.
Right.
Good. Today's topic is quite different, so it's going to attract a lot many people related to basic sciences, specifically physics. So it would be good. So many people will remember Consul sir as well because of physics.
physics, Bitkar sir, Kansal sir.
Yes.
And during our time, like even the other, like some South Indian guy, Alfonso sir, Alfonso.
No, and Kulkarni madam also.
Kulkarni, yeah, Kulkarni, Alfonso, yes. So, but then, like say, people have that in today's scenario, like say, they have trained, okay, not to like maths and not to like physics. And people who does like maths and physics, they excel in their career like anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
topic. Round related and higher education and career opportunities physical science.
सगळ्यांना सांगा 12वी नंतर सगळ्या मुलांना सांगा 1 वर्ष जॉब शिकून घ्यायची.
राहुलला बोलतो
फ्री एज्युकेशन ते टू ट्रॅव्हल फॉर
काय करतो तुम्ही तो बोल त्याच्यासाठीच टॉपिक
the amount of skills you will learn in life is nothing compared to what a college will do.
Anyway, Shashikant, I'll have some tips to be given before introduction.
Yeah.
All the participants, you are requested to see that your cell phone is on a mute, so speaker can do his presentation seamlessly. It is advised that you be away from electronic devices or maybe away from your family members, so that will not cause a disturbance to your session, hearing it properly. The topic is going to be quite different and quite educative, which I will be introducing him soon. Ensure that you are in a light condition, so if you are keeping your video on, the light is on your face, so you are visible clearly. Else, if you are facing any issues about the bandwidth or not able to hear properly, I would recommend you keep your video off, so you will be able to hear properly. And please ensure that you are away from small children and other disturbances, because it disturbs others as well. Anyway, to start with, I'll start introducing the today's presenter, a highly dynamic and highly educated person, Balaji doing his professor Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi. Quite concerned on subject, and obviously I should not talk much about physics because it is one of my weak subjects. But to admire him, he has gone into basic sciences, because not many people go into engineering or maybe computer sciences and all those things. But even in that era, you took up a challenge to go into basic sciences and pursue his career. And now he is going to give us tips and advices or suggestions how to do good career in basic sciences, specifically physics. So, Balaji brother, over to you. Please continue the session, please.
Okay. Thank you, Shashikant sir and Yogesh sir, for giving me this opportunity. And the topic, as you can see, is higher education and career opportunities in physical sciences. I mean, somehow the way I have designed this talk is also more than the topic itself, is also something which is which relates to me through my passion also. So I think that will be reflected also in the way I give the presentation. So I mean, that has got some positives, some negatives also, but let's see how it goes. So what I have done is that yeah, and at the start, I believe that really the specific audience for this topic would be, let's say, a student from 10th standard to a final year degree student, either of science or engineering. But then anybody who is related to such a candidate would also, I think, will have this talk as relevant to him. And the way I have organized it is that I have sort of centered it around the physics that is contained in, let's say, 11th and 12th standard NCERT books. I mean, I just picked this because this would make it general. And why NCERT? Because first, we all are familiar with those NCERT books, and also that it is fairly pan-Indian. So I think that was a good choice, and I am also a little bit with these books. So I will do this book as a sort of our body of knowledge from physics. I will try to see how it is connected to nature, how it helps in explaining the nature and its connection also. And then I summarize the strengths and challenges of learning physics. So after that, so this will be about maybe 8-9 slides, etc. And then I will also, in another 8-9 slides, which is basically documentation, I will try to make you aware of the various online resources that are available for learning, and especially learning physics. And this, I think, was a very significant current development over the last years, where a lot of promotion has also been done by Indian government. And then finally, I will talk about the possible educational career strategies and opportunities, etc. So let me begin. And with this slide, I mean, I'm trying to connect the role of physics in understanding nature. And as you can see from on the top, there are images that I have picked up for aluminum, silicon, and heated iron, for example. So, and I have listed here a couple of questions. So now, for example, the first question is why aluminum is conductor, but its neighbor silicon is a semiconductor. So the aluminum and silicon, I mean, they are otherwise very similar from the number of their atomic number. Aluminum is 13, silicon is 14. So the electronic arrangement, etc., is quite similar. They are not very different, etc. But still their properties are extremely different. One is conductor, another is semiconductor. And when we look at an aluminum block, never imagine that the velocity of the electrons that are there in this aluminum is almost close to that of speed of light. So I think most of us would be surprised by such a thing, but it is the reality. Similarly, the third picture which I show is that of a heated iron rod, and this also you must have as a children, or in your experience you must have noticed that when an iron rod is heated, or any material when it is heated, then it first becomes red, then it becomes yellow, and then it becomes white, etc. So why this peculiar phenomena? Why is it that it just stays red, or let's say red, and then its intensity should increase when we heat it up? Why does its color change? Okay. And finally, when we have heated that poor iron rod to such high temperatures, and when we cool it down, why is it that that iron rod should get back its own original properties? I mean, it should start behaving something so drastically, because you have anyway put that iron rod to such a heavy treatment, but it still is able to come back to its original state when we cool it. The final question would be that every matter, for example, even you and me, for example, are also associated with a wave. So these are a couple of things which appear to be very strange, but this is a reality. And learning physics allows one to make sense of all these things. So for example, even on the basis of our 11th and 12th standard physics, it is very much possible to understand the answer for question number 1, even the last. So, so this unique way in which one can understand nature is really a privilege for physicists. So that's why anybody, and this I think is also something which is why many people, they are attracted, or a student is attracted to physics. That's one of the motivation why they choose to study physics, not for that they will be able to earn a lot of money, etc. No, I don't think so. That really is not the motivating factor for somebody who wants to study physics. Okay, so we will, I mean, some of these questions I will also be handling in my subsequent slides. So let me now go over, and now we try to connect physics with technology. So we talked about silicon semiconductor last slide, and here let's say I have tried to talk about 3 devices. One is the integrated circuits. In short, we call it ICs. And then there are 2 kinds of optoelectronic devices, solar cell and LEDs, light emitting diodes. Now, integrated circuit, for example, is nothing but a combination of diodes, transistors, resistors, inductors, capacitors, all fabricated on a single chip of silicon, which is here. But this picture I took from 12th standard book. This is the number. I deliberately kept it this way because if somebody wants to look back, they can quickly trace it back. And this is the structure of the IC, etc. Similarly, solar cell is nothing but a diode, a PN junction diode, and so are the LEDs. So this is only for semiconductors. There are n number of other examples. There are lasers, superconductors, I mean, instrumentation, and so on. So there are n number of ways in which physics is connected to technology. But these are some of the points that I try to, as an example, I tried to explain. Okay, so now what I'm now going to do over the next 4 slides is try to get familiar with the broadly, in an overview manner, with the content of 11th standard 2 books, part 1, part 2, and the 12th standard part 1, part 2. And my aim would be to tell how this 11th and 12th standard syllabus forms a basis for higher studies in physics. That would be one. And I will also at the time try to explain the comparative historical development of science in Western countries in comparison to that of our own civilization, Indian civilization, just as a curiosity, for example. And so it will be like, the structure would be broadly like this. In this portion, there will be names of the chapters in that particular book. And here I should mention which higher physics studies that develops into. And on the right side, we compare some of the important scientists from the Western world and from the Indian world. So here, for example, we have most of the chapters which relate to mechanics, like motion and motion in a plane, circular motion, etc., etc., gravitation. And that's what later on people, when they study in detail, that's called branch of physics, which is classical mechanics. By the way, here I have written one comment, and that I would, let me explain that these books get revised periodically. The latest revision, I think, was done in 2006. And this revision was quite massive, I would say, a very major upgradation. And most of us, those who passed before 2006, they, I would rather say that we are disadvantaged a lot, because these books have become so of high quality that I feel pity that, or let's say I feel disadvantaged that I didn't get to study that at that stage of my life. So it has been such a transformation in those books. And I know that in the rewriting of these books, one Professor Joshi from Physics Department of Pune University, a very thorough man, a frail man, and a very pakka person, he was very prominently involved in the rewriting of these books. And he has definitely done a very magnificent job. All right. So as far as mechanics is concerned, we know that, like in the Western world, it began with so-called Renaissance, that is with Galileo Galilei, and then the Newton, etc. But you know, if we compare that situation with what we had in India, we were not bad actually. Prove that in the corresponding period as Renaissance was happening in Europe, we were probably still dormant. We were not probably doing so much on science, but in fact, we were in a very good stage some 400 years before the Renaissance began in Europe. So Bhaskara II or Bhaskaracharya, also I think he's called. So even in this period, they had a very good idea about motion and mechanics, etc., something which we can be very, very proud of. And he himself built upon even earlier Indians by these names. So I think we were doing pretty well in those days, like at around 1200 year and before that. Then yeah, and here I have listed just for example when this Renaissance was happening to read family Shivaji Maharaj and Peshwai and so on. You can look at it just to put the things in perspective. All right, so yeah, now we come to the second part of the 11th standard physics book, and then so that largely, as you can see here, that there are thermal properties of matter, thermodynamics, kinetic energy, and so on. So that primarily develops into these branches of higher studies of physics, which would be thermodynamics, kinetic theory, and statistical mechanics, etc. And these are the corresponding scientists from the Western world. And again, that is around the Renaissance period, that is roughly starting from 1600 year, etc. And most of them, by the way, let me tell you that they had a culture wherein there will be people who were military men or rich men, etc. And on retirement, they became scientists. I will come across some examples and correspondingly, the persons that we can talk about from Indian civilization would be, let's say, Kannada and Buddha, but these are already before century. So very, and their contribution, I think, is more of a speculative nature. And so here we don't do so good. In mechanics, we were still pretty good, yes. But I think here again, thermodynamics, for example, is a very philosophical subject. But somehow we didn't really, as far as my feeling goes, we didn't contribute much to that. Whereas the others, they did contribute. Okay, so then now we move over to the 12th standard book, part 1. And this is, as you can see here, this is about electricity and magnetism. So that in higher physics, this is called as electrodynamics, and then electrical engineering, and so on. And here, for example, I was in the earlier slide talking about a military engineer, Coulomb, for example. We are all familiar with this Coulomb engineer. He would go on in wars, etc. But on retirement, he became a scientist. And there are many examples. Rich people, noblemen who had money, they would they would invest their money in setting up a research laboratory, and they did research, they invented things, discovered things, etc. And on this topic, I think so far as my little knowledge goes, we have not contributed absolutely nothing. And I remember that when I was studying BSc in Udgir, we had one teacher, his surname was Mustadar, and see, here there is one law, Biot-Savart law. Biot was one scientist and another was another European scientist. They were French, I believe. And they have one law named in electrodynamics, which is called as Biot-Savart law. And then he jokingly used to say, I mean, we have Biot-Savart law. We should have had some Dhondibas and Koldibas law also. So it looked very funny, but it really depicts the I would say the reality and to some extent tragedy of that phase of our scientific history. So that's about electrodynamics and electrical engineering. Okay, so now we come to the most important book, as I would say, This is definitely most modern also. So that's the second part of 12th standard book. And here are the names of the chapters. So the first two are classical optics, and this dual nature of radiation and matter. So this is where that modern physics, which is precursor to quantum mechanics, etc., that begins. Now, when I say that you and me also have a wave associated with it, that's this dual nature of matter, for example. And so this slowly with Planck, and then Einstein, Rutherford, Bohr, de Broglie, etc. Finally, it culminated in about year 1926-27 through scientists Schrödinger, Heisenberg, Dirac, Fermi, Pauli, and Max Born, etc. They put forth a very solid theory which is called as quantum mechanics, and that is able to explain all these phenomena which I had put forth right in my second slide or so. So they were very nicely able to explain why things behave the way they do. For example, why is it that this iron rod, even after heating so drastically, on cooling, comes back to its original properties? The reason for that could be explained by quantum mechanics. So this was a very rigorous theory which could very rigorously explain nature, and this was very phenomenal thing. And this happened in about from 1900, from Planck to about 1926-27. So in these 25 years, there was hectic scientific activity in Germany and England and Europe, wherein these things were sorted out and a theory was set up. And let me tell you that in this period, the contribution of Indians was not really bad. So if these different colored contributions are from Indians. So Jagdish Chandra Bose, for example, already in 1895, he was the first one to generate and detect ultra-short electromagnetic waves. Later on, Marconi did that in 1901, and he got most of the credit. But in some way, all that was done by Bose a couple of years back. Similarly, even before that theory of quantum mechanics was fully set up, in 1924, Satyendranath Bose in Calcutta, he gave very fundamental contribution, and his name is there in all textbooks of physics. I mean, Bose-Einstein statistics, the whole field is named after him. So he made that fundamental discovery, some 2-page paper at a young age of maybe 25, 26 or so. And then he sent it to Einstein. And Einstein, he converted that into German. And he, with his own note, he said, he supported that, and he got it published. And then Einstein expanded on Bose's idea. And then they discovered a new kind of statistics which applied to so-called bosons or our light particles, etc., and that is called Bose-Einstein. So this was a very fundamental contribution. Similarly, just after this quantum mechanics was discovered, in a year or so, in 1928, Raman effect was discovered, and it got the prize also, the Nobel Prize, etc. So if you look in comparison, I think these Indians, against all odds, based on their individual genius abilities, they were able to make very fundamental contributions. All right. And then in the same book, eventually you study semiconductor electronics based on the theory of semiconductors, etc., and these IC devices, communication systems, etc. So I have tried to explain these semiconductor devices, etc. So, and then these scientists, for example, the transistor was discovered in 1947 to 1958, and the ICs were discovered in 1958. And these people, all of them went up to get Nobel Prize. Jack Kilby, for example, for his 1958 discovery of integrated circuit, he got a prize in 2000 or something, very late, but he got it. And you know what? All these scientists, Bardeen, Brettin, and Jack Kilby, they were employed by private companies named Intel and Bell Laboratories, etc. So imagine, I mean, these high-end physicists, they were working full-time in these private manufacturing industries, and they were able to then even get Nobel Prizes, etc. So that was a very phenomenal thing, which I think we miss out even now in our country. All right. So I think with that, I'm done with explaining this 11th and 12th standard physics book, and that was our body through which we try to get familiar with the physics part of it. Now let me, so let me summarize. Let's assume that we have a little bit become familiar with what physics is, or at least with the flavor of physics. And if we summarize what all that is, so I have tried to do that in this slide. So I have said there are strengths and there are challenges. What are the strengths? The strength is that it enables most accurate and rigorous understanding of physical processes in nature. It's a privilege. I mean, that, you know, I mean, you can compare it with a lady who is illiterate. She is at a bus stand. You know, I mean, you can see her predicament. She wants to go to some place, but she cannot read where that bus is heading for. So anybody who can read, it is somebody who is able to do, or who is familiar with that quantum mechanics and all. He is able to look at nature in a very different perspective. For example, as I said, that aluminum block, it had electrons with velocity of speed of light. A common man wouldn't care whether what would be, but a person who is familiar with quantum mechanics would know that there are particles inside it which are moving with velocity of light, etc., or close to the velocity of light. And another point is that physics is a mother technology or mother subject to almost all the technologies, semiconductors, lasers, any instrument you name. And so it is, these are, I would say, the strengths of it. What are the challenges? I put it like this, that it is a very vast subject. Vast, I mean, I have tried to list those sub-subjects of physics: classical mechanics, thermodynamics, statistical mechanics, electrodynamics, quantum mechanics, solid state physics, spectroscopy. And so this is wide. And then you go into each of these subjects and you can pursue that subject in depth. And for that also, which is there is no limit. So it is vast laterally as well as vertically. So that's, so it is like hopelessly vast, if I may use that word or terminology. Second is that, so it is necessary, and if you are good at maths, it is always by default you will be benefited. So that's one unique nature of, let's say, physics. And third is that it is abstract. I mean, that abstractness comes from that fact. One example of abstractness is that, for example, you say that a matter, a body, you and me, so wave. Now this is a very abstract concept. This is non-intuitive. So it is very difficult to come to terms with such concepts. Then we pursue physics either in experimental fashion or in theoretical fashion. Now, those who do it with experimental, they get occupied with these such things like arranging for the experiment, building up an equipment, let's say, to do a lot of deep reading, etc., etc. And those who are doing theoretical, they cannot do experimental. So again, this is something related to that vastness, etc. Okay. So these are inherent to the nature of physics. You can't do it. You have to accept it. This is how this has strength and these are the challenges. Now, when it is so, when these challenges are like this, that there is a lot of mathematics involved, it is an abstract subject with non-intuitive concepts, etc., you also need to be taught very well. I mean, I would say that for a biology subject, it is probably less matter or less influential if you are taught well or not taught well. You read it and you will probably understand it. But that is probably not true for physics. There, the quality of teaching matters significantly. And whatever you may say that I will self-study, I will be able to do it, but considering that it involves so much of mathematics, so much of non-intuitive concepts, that without some sort of quality hand-holding, it would be almost impossible to really achieve significant progress. So that's also a reality. And here, I think we in India do very badly. I know that 25 years back at least, most of the universities in Maharashtra, Pune University might be an exception, that on this quality of physics teaching, we were very bad. And I'm not sure that this situation has probably changed even now. So this is an additional challenge as far as we are concerned. All right. So now what I have done is that I have now tried to take care or devoted few slides. That's what I mean by those online resources, etc., to tackle this fifth challenge, let's say. So from now on, now this is not something very creative of mine. It's more sort of documentation. So I have tried to document a number of online resources which are available even in India. In fact, for the last several years, Indian government has promoted this online learning activity in a very massive way. And that I have tried to document in the next 7-8 slides. So, and this, I believe, I mean, this was not with the mind that Corona pandemic will come or like that. This government did with the nature of our population, because there are issues of education access is still not available to a common man. That's a big issue. So keeping that in mind, government had done this in a massive way, or it was doing it even before the pandemic. So if you go to this website, this is there are it's called ICT Initiatives of MHRD. So this is IC's Information and Communication Technology Initiatives, or ICT based initiatives of Government of India. So there are these Swayam Prabha, National Digital Library, EPG Pathshala, and so on. There are 3-4 more also. So you can go to this website and all the information is available there. So what this Swayam does is that you have these online courses. So you can get very quality teaching online. Swayam Prabha, that is all this teaching on TV channels. There are about 32 TV channels, etc. Then again some National Digital Library wherein all this information is there in the form of digital, etc. Then there is EPG Pathshala. There are also so-called virtual laboratories where you can do instrument experiments, etc. So I have tried to put that together. So for the Swayam, for example, this massive open online courses, anyone can take it anytime, anywhere, and it's free of cost. So it tries to solve this problem of access, equity, and quality. So and this is in the field of engineering, law, management, humanities, social sciences, professional courses, all encompassed. And it is from 9th standard till post-graduation. And so much so that students can take these courses and convert it into credits. So they don't have to take their regular college courses. 20% of their courses, they could take it in this way. Then many reputed universities are allowed to run even full-time online degree programs, etc. So this is, I think, a very beneficial initiative. And these are these are the different institutions which are responsible. So they have shared the load. For example, NCERT takes care of school education, NPTEL, it takes care of engineering courses, and so on. UGC, it takes care of PG non-engineering, or let's say PG science courses, etc. All right. So here, then what is that Swayam Prabha? I told that it tells it in the, you get it on TV channels. And here I would like to highlight about this IIT PAL. So this IIT PAL, it is done with an intention of helping students to prepare for the IIT entrance exams. So that I will elaborate in this slide. So if you go in that particular link, then you will see that all these topics for physics, chemistry, biology, etc., mathematics included, they are handled, and then you have this